Do you have flushing skin? How about red skin that always seems to be red? Well, how do you know if you have rosacea skin or sensitive skin or both? April is National Rosacea Month, and according to the National Rosacea Society, approximately 16 million Americans and 45 million people around the world may be suffering from rosacea. And there may be even a little bit more because some of those people don't even count themselves as having rosacea. So in this video, we're going to be talking about signs of rosacea and the 3 stages of rosacea, as well as some pro tips and home care tips and what ingredients that you may want to look for, as well as ingredients that you want to also avoid if you have rosacea. And as always, links and sources of the information will be in the description below. Hey there, it's Christy again, and I have been treating clients with acne, hyperpigmentation, fighting fine lines and wrinkles for over 11 years. However, over the course of the 11 years, I have been treating some clients who have rosacea, who have psoriasis, and who have eczema. And I have rolled the roller coaster with them up and down as they've had rosacea and then rosacea flare-ups. We've calmed it down. They had it again. And other people who came in for a regular facial, and then based on everything I'd seen, I said, you may have rosacea, so we want to treat that inflammation. So today, that is what we're going to be talking about in our video. So first, before we begin, I do want to say that this video is for educational purposes only. It is not to diagnose or treat anyone who may have rosacea. So please do not self-diagnose or self-treat yourself. Please see a professional if you think you may have rosacea. So some of the first signs of rosacea is persistent redness. So it's a constant type of redness. You may get more flushed if you get emotional or you're hot, but there's always seems to be a persistent redness. And the redness is actually centralized. So it usually is around the forehead, the nose, the chin, and the cheeks. Rosacea usually starts to develop at an early age, and it is very common to have it run in families. The person also may notice that they start to see some dilated capillaries and dilated veins. They also may start to form some papules, pustules, as well as fibroplasia, which is excess fibrous tissues on their skin. So their skin starts to kind of get, the texture changes. It almost looks like an orange peel. So they start to have more of a red type of look, and that is the early stages, or could be the early stages of rosacea. So like I mentioned before, rosacea actually tends to run in families. It is more common in women between the ages of 30 and 60s, and it is very common in ethnic backgrounds that come from Irish descent, Scottish descent, and Scandinavian countries. And it is more common with people who have fair skin. Okay, so now that we've discussed the early stages of rosacea, now we're going to talk about the second stage. So the second stage is now there is more consistent redness. So then you have that, then you may start to see maybe 1 or 2 capillaries start to appear. The other one is more papules, more pustules, and the redness now, instead of it going away and coming back, now it actually becomes more apparent that you're red all the time. And if you are bald, sometimes people who have rosacea, the papules and pustules can actually extend to the scalp area as well as down the neck, behind the ears, and down into the chest. Now this is where someone may actually start to notice that their pores now are visibly appears larger, as well as if they've had a breakout, the breakouts can last for weeks. Now, stage 3 of rosacea, this is when the redness is very, very persistent and very, very obvious. There are way more dilated veins and or capillaries, especially around the nose area. The skin texture, again, really starts to change and really starts to look like an orange peel, so thicker, larger pores. And the nose, they can get what's called rhinophyma, which the nose looks really, really red, swollen, almost disfigured, and bulbous. Now I'm going to talk about some common triggers or well-known triggers that may trigger a rosacea flare-up. So one of them, of course, is spicy foods. For some people, it's caffeine, soy sauce, chocolate, citrus fruits, dairy foods such as sour cream or cheese. Now, I'm not saying that all of these are going to trigger rosacea or a flare-up. It's just these are some of the more well-known common trigger foods. So in addition to the spicy foods is of course also alcohol. Also extreme temperatures going from very cold to very hot or vice versa. Stress, sunlight, as well as certain medications, especially ones that can dilate the blood vessels, such as blood pressure medications and corticosteroids, as well as some cosmetics and or skincare products. So jumping into the next thing is some ingredients to avoid if you think you may have rosacea, or not only that, if you have sensitive skin. So talking about cleansers, try to avoid cleansers that have a high amount of sulfates. Those are foaming agents or detergent agents. They do work well with people who have really oily skin. However, it can be irritating to some skin types. Also avoiding skincare products, cosmetics if you have artificial fragrances, and dyes. So those of you who have rosacea and love to wear bright, bold eyeshadows and makeup, not going to be the best thing for you. It can trigger a rosacea or eczema or psoriasis flare-up. Other ingredients can include menthol, peppermint, of course alcohol. Sometimes toners will have alcohol in it. Even witch hazel can trigger a rosacea flare-up. So the goal of rosacea prone skin or rosacea skin or sensitive skin is you want to reduce that inflammation, you want to increase the moisture in the skin, you want to promote wound healing and increase the moisture binding abilities of your skin. You also want to help soothe and nourish your skin because you have a compromised skin barrier, but also because if your capillaries and your blood vessels are constantly inflamed, they're more likely to burst and weaken. So you want to help support capillary health to help strengthen the capillary walls. So this is where it can get a little bit tricky because rosacea skin still needs some form of exfoliation. I mean, that because their skin starts to get thick. However, AHAs, alpha hydroxy acids, including glycolic acids or retin-As, can irritate the skin and actually can increase a flare-up. So if the skin can tolerate it, then consider using BHAs, beta hydroxy acids, so mandelic acid, salicylic acid if you can, hibiscus acid. These are more gentle forms of exfoliants if you can tolerate it. Now, if you can't tolerate acids, please don't go using things that have beads or seeds or anything that's rough because that is going to trigger your rosacea and become more inflamed. Now here are some things to look for to help support your skin's health. So the first one is sea buckthorn oil. It has antioxidants, it also has anti-inflammatory properties, and it has the complete omega-3, 6, and 9 to help support your skin. You want to look for calming and soothing ingredients to help your skin. So some of these are chamomile extract, cucumber extract, green tea extract, beta-glucan, which is derived from oats. These are all things that can calm down the skin and help nourish the skin and actually increase the skin's ability to hold onto its own moisture. So here comes the pro tips of some things that you can do to calm and nourish your skin and restore that moisture barrier, the compromised moisture barrier. So first thing is let's talk about sunscreens because the chemical sunscreen is a very well-known common trigger for people who have rosacea or sensitive skin. Chemical-based sunscreens tend to irritate and sensitize rosacea prone skin. So you want to look for a mineral-based sunscreen. So mineral-based sunscreen can be zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. Zinc oxide is really good because it's already a natural anti-inflammatory. The next one is a toner. If your skin doesn't have enough moisture, a lot of times when people who have rosacea start developing pustules and papules, the last thing they want to do is put on more moisturizers because they think they're going to break out, but they actually need more moisture. Well, a lot of the toners have witch hazel or alcohol in them, which can again be a trigger. So I love the Botanical Biopeptide toner. This actually calms and reduces inflammation. And for those of you who are using anti-aging products, not only does it reduce inflammation, it increases your skin's ability to hold in the moisture. It actually increases the efficacy of anti-aging products that you are using, whether it's serums or creams. Now, for those of you who have pre-rosacea, like you have rosacea, you have the redness, the persistent redness, but you may not have the thicker skin, you're not having the breakouts, or those of you who have persistent sensitized skin, the post-rescue cream, the treatment cream, is really good for increasing the skin's ability to hold in the moisture and greatly reduces the inflammation. This was actually created for post-laser, retin-A, and post-procedures to basically reduce and help reduce the inflammation and heal the skin. And for those of you who cannot use this because it is a cream, there is the serum. So those of you who would prefer a water-based serum, this is called Rosacea Skin Serum. The pH of this is 5.0, so it's well established for your skin's barrier, and it is water-based. And you can use this. It has glycerin, it has sodium hyaluronate for humectants, but it also has oat-derived beta-glucan, and it has different ingredients in here to help you with your skin's healing process. So if you want to do your research on this, when I was saying ingredients that helps your skin's ability to hold onto the moisture, it's glycosaminoglycans as well as mucose polysaccharide. It also has licorice root extract as well as sea whip extract, and that also helps your skin's texture and ability to hold in the moisture, as well as even out skin tone. Here is another pro tip that I like to advise my clients who have acne and they don't like to use moisturizers, and people who have rosacea. If you put this in the refrigerator during the summer or after a workout, or when your face is really flushed and inflamed, if you take it out of the refrigerator, it's nice and cool, and you put it on liberally all over your face, your neck, and your chest. And it also has bioflavonoids, which helps support capillary health. Okay, so for those of you who are do-it-yourselfers, here is something that you can use to help calm down the skin. Take equal parts turmeric, raw honey, and organic milk or yogurt plain, and mix it up. You can put it in the refrigerator to really cool it down, and then apply it liberally on your face, your neck, and your chest for 20 minutes. Then you can rinse it off, or you can tissue off and then rinse later, and that helps calm down and soothe the skin, because turmeric is well known for being an anti-inflammatory product. If you are liking all these ingredients and you learned something new today about rosacea, then please give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and don't forget, as always, the notification bell to get notified when we have our new videos. And remember, ladies, makeup is an art and skincare is a science.